Chapter 21. Humans 3. Humans 3. The young girl was handling it better than I expected. When she found out that her older brother died, I thought she would pee in place, fall into panic, or collapse on the spot crying. But she left the dungeon without crying out loud, as if she was afraid that another monster would come if she cried. Most of all, she took care of his brother's body. She placed it in her inventory. I almost screamed in surprise when I saw her doing it, but it was not really that surprising. Who said it was only me who had an inventory? She's gone. I used my senses to detect that the young girl has safely exited the dungeon without encountering another goblin. Then, I sat down and predated on the remaining goblin fighters. Goblin fighter predation after hunting 1-000/1-000. Nothing. Predating all the goblin fighters on the spot did not increase my stats at all. Then what should I do now? Goblin Knight predation after hunting 1/5. Goblin King predation after hunting 0/1. If I achieve these last two items, the quest ends. And maybe it will increase my level enough to go through the third evolution. The Goblin King's combat power is unknown at this point. More so, it was impossible to figure out whether there would only be 4 Goblin Knights and 1 Goblin King in the space called Boss Room. But that doesn't mean I'm going to run now. It's just not like hunting a Goblin Fighter or a Goblin Warrior. I can't go in with a light mind. I have to prepare thoroughly on what to do. First, predation. I'll have to face and predate on more Goblin Warriors to raise my stats, and possibly my level. Second, I need a helmet. My face and head are exposed. Even when I was at the Goblin Warrior mass appearance, the absence of helmet put me in danger again and again. Ideally, I needed a helmet to fight against the boss. A dedicated store will probably sell helmets. Third, today's luck. In all the games I played when I was a human, the boss gave an experience that was incomparable to other mobs. Obviously, it would not be much different for a Goblin King. If I drink today's luck at a dedicated store and win another 1.5 times experience, I'll get much more experience in defeating the boss. Hunt Goblin Warriors until I reach the limit, buy today's luck at the store along with a helmet. That was what I had to do to fight the boss. Good. I slowly walked back to the territory of the Goblin Warriors. However, they have not respawned yet, and the territory of the warriors is filled with silence. Goblin Fighter's realm was also empty, so if anyone comes in now, he will mistake this place for a dungeon that has nothing inside. It didn't take long for that to happen. I've heard about this dungeon. I heard a voice. I extended my lower level detection. It looks like the man was still a little too far. I could not recognize the presence yet. He seemed careless, like a fool. It's real that there are only goblins here, so there is no guard, no an admission fee. This place may not be enough. I also need to go to the Oak Dungeon to win a hidden collection at the auction house. The man's words brought me a lot of information. Did humans charge admission fees to dungeons that spontaneously emerged? Did they arrange people coming in, as if they were ticket offices? In other words, humans have reasons to enter dungeons. Goblin fighters and warriors are in this place. If you go deeper, there may be more than that. Considering the key to the boss room I got is 1F, there must be 2F and 3F. There must be monsters other than goblins. Are other dungeons not as deep as the Black Palace? When people saw a goblin at the entrance, did they make a hasty conclusion that this dungeon is full of goblins? Is the difficulty of the monster at the starting point enough to deduce the difficulty of the dungeon regardless of its depth? No, not really. I don't know how much time I've been born as a goblin, but I'm sure it hasn't been that long. The Black Palace is not unique. Among other dungeons, there would be deep dungeons like this. What's more, it hasn't been long since the synchronization was over, and humans haven't been able to penetrate dungeons in detail. There can be no such guidelines. So, at this point in time, humans measure the level of the monsters appearing at the entrance, rather than examining the dungeons in depth. People are going to flock to this dungeon soon. What did the man say? Auction house. Hidden collection? I'm not sure what those meant, but it was clear that those with power would deliberately come here. So, before that happens, I must be strong enough to be invisible to anyone. Moreover, I must have a human-like appearance that can blend in with society. I firmly established my resolve. Damn, I don't see goblins anymore. I have to go deeper than this. But now I have to get away from that man first. I'm not sure I won't win, but the man will attack me as a monster he sees me, and then I would have to kill him. It's hard to be attacked by humans just because I'm a monster. I also want to avoid killing humans with my hands. If they don't see me, nothing will happen. But if they come into contact, I need to kill them. Fortunately, the structure of the aisle is much better for me than for men. When I moved in the passage to get away from the man didn't even notice me, and he went to another passage. He felt good, and he was heading straight to the heart of the dungeon. I hesitated for a moment, but when I was convinced that I wasn't caught by the man, I started to step on the man's back at a sufficient distance. Yes, I was also curious. Is the boss room impossible to enter without a key? If you can enter, what does the key mean? What can a man do to get the key if he can't get in? Does the man know about the key too? After walking another hour or so, the man finally found the door. It was the first time I actually saw it, too. As if to say that you can't go beyond this, there is a huge wall of caves without a single passage. Likewise, a massive iron gate occupying more than half of the cave wall. And I also saw a keyhole where I could put in the key. There was an unprecedented presence on the other side of the gate. I can't figure out the exact number, but I felt the momentum I felt from the Goblin Knight and even more. Okay. After all, it would be better to get stronger before trying it. I was a little uneasy in my current state. Well, is this a dungeon room? The man looked at the gate. I got it. I never thought there would be a room in this weakened dungeon. Is it a named goblin? No, it's hard to expect compensation even for Namedra as a goblin. Treasure box. Come out of the treasure chest. The man was so excited as he turned the doorknob. The door opened a little. What? I screamed in my head. Despite not having a key, he was able to open the door. You can enter the boss room without a key. The man stepped into the room. Only, the chills ran on my back. I'm scared. My ebon heart beat hard enough to burst as if telling me never to enter that place. The moment the man stepped inside, the iron door closed. Soon after, a terrible scream rang. I stood there for a few more minutes, but the man never came back. Forever, you will never come back. Chapter 22. Goblin King 1. Goblin King 1. I stood still watching the door for a long time. I wasn't standing still because I want to know if the man was dead or not. I was convinced of what happened to him after the door closed. I stood still because I couldn't move. I couldn't move. I felt like I was trapped in a coffin made of ice. I couldn't breathe. I was afraid that if I move a little, whatever that's behind that door is going to notice me and do something horrible. After what seemed like an eternity, the beating of the ebon heart returned to normal, and I was finally able to move. Lower level detection has become LV5. Beginner surprise has become LV7. Beginner abnormal resistance became LV10 and changed to lower abnormal resistance. There is a chance to resist higher status than the skill level. I just sensed the presence of the monster behind the door once and used my surprise skill to hide and avoid it. But even if it only took moments, my skills rose by 2 or 3 levels. The skills level up was just proving how strong the unknown monster was. Moreover, just by getting close to the door and confirming the existence of the monster, I gained the abnormal resistance skill, and it immediately rose to a lower level. It was truly horrifying. I left the area quickly. I realized why I needed the boss room key. I was sorry for the man, but I'm glad it wasn't me. In the future, I have to make sure never to enter rooms with keyholes without having the key. But wait a minute. When the door opened, I remembered being caught up in a strong desire to. I stopped to recall it. I remember having a sudden passing thought, something that seemed important. I grabbed my forehead in concentration, but no matter how much I tried to think, I really could not remember it. Oh well, maybe I would remember it when I really need it. It was more important to focus on hunting warriors who began to respawn. Kerut. Good. Time passed. A notification popped up as soon as I cut one of the goblin warrior's neck. It was the second one I received after escaping the terrible unknown monster. You gained 420 experience. You acquired 90 bronze. Level up. My level is now 34.
Gong si ho, fate.
Hobgoblin LV34.
Strength 147, stamina 145, magic 54, luck dash. Skill Ebon Heart, predation LV2, lower swordsmanship LV6, lower spear LV7, lower smash LV6, lower archery LV3, lower armor defense LV8, lower spell LV6, lower throw LV1, lower power attack LV5, beginner black lightning LV8, lower leap LV9. At LV34, there is still no dramatic change in predation, but my other abilities continued to rise. Now, I had more confidence in comparing myself to the Goblin King. In particular, although I don't know what his weapon is, I'm sure it won't be higher than my lower-level swordsmanship. However, the problem is that the boss battle is not going to be one-on-one. He may be surrounded by goblin knights the whole time. So, if possible, I wanted to raise the black lightning to a lower to manage a group attack better. But I can't postpone facing him anymore. It must have been 24 hours already since I left the exclusive score. It means that I can now get another today's luck. I've also accumulated about 7 gold. Perhaps I could buy a decent helmet with this money. The longer I stayed postponing our battle, the greater the risk of more people entering the dungeon. Staying longer than necessary would be like suicide. Not only that, I've killed over 700 warriors in the last few hours, but I only received 420 experience. As the level progresses, the required experience needed to climb up increased exponentially. How many more warriors can I kill to achieve LV35? It seemed impossible to level up now just by fighting warriors. Eat well, I told myself. However, as I continued eating the corpses, there is no change in my abilities and my level. It seemed that I've already reached the limit. It's as if my predation skill is telling me, don't stop here and take the challenge. Yes, now is the time. You are here, fate. Rain B. greeted me with a gentle smile as if he was waiting for me to come. It's as if I'm the regular customer of this bar. I wondered if I had stopped by at this store in the past without my knowledge, but as far as I know, this is only my second time here. Hello, Rain. I greeted him. Come on, sit down. I sat on the chair as he recommended. The blood iron armor I have was a steel armor that protects the whole body, but strangely it did not interfere with actions such as moving, sitting, and lying down. Would you like to try today's luck first? Rain offered. Not yet. I sat down and shook my head. Please remind me to get one before I leave. I came here because I need a helmet. Aha. You already have full body armor, so it would be perfect if you had a helmet. What about a shield? No. The shield doesn't suit me. I smirked, raising my right hand. I need my other hand to be free. Otherwise, I couldn't grasp and eat in battle. I continued. Ah. Rain suddenly paused and fell silent. Is something wrong? I caught his attention. He looked startled and quickly apologized. No, sorry about that. Yes. You said you wanted to see a helmet? Show me the best I can get right now. Of course. He nodded quietly, and a glass window appeared in front of my eyes. Only one product was on it. Hard steel helmet, 350/350. Rareness normal, defense 120. 6 gold, 30 silver. To be honest, it's quite disappointing. The blood iron armor I have protected the whole body and has a defense of 230. This helmet would protect the most important part of my body, but its defense is less than half of my armor. There's no other choice, though. Rain wouldn't lie to me, and even if he would, I have no choice but to be deceived. I bought it. It was as if it was designed specifically for me. My head and nape are completely covered, along with my nose, but the mouth and chin area are open. I thought of a lion's mane for some reason. It was a weird thought, but I like it. How is it? Isn't it perfect for fate? I like it. The lower part of my face is exposed, but it was perfect for me to use predation while in battle.
Y thành két rèn.
He told me that no matter how much I like it, I cannot use it in the bar. It's uncomfortable and troublesome to tilt my head while wearing it, and I needed to drink today's luck. I agreed with his suggestion and took it off. You have 85 silver left. Actually, There is a special sale product of the day that can be purchased with that money, but how about it? He certainly knows dungeons better than me, and what he suggests certainly helps me. I sighed. Show me. Hoo-hoo. You will definitely like it. Flame Reflux Ring, 5/5. Rare item. Can be used as lower flame reflection LV10 for 3 seconds without mana consumption. After a single use, the ring disappears. 80 silver. Lower flame reflection. Protects the wearer by reflecting beginner and lower flame magic back to the attacker. Magic level higher than the skill cannot be reversed. The higher the level difference, the more power it boosts when reflecting attacks. I was nervous the moment I saw it because I realized what Rain was trying to say. The Goblin King is a user of lower flame magic. Would you like to buy it? Yeah. It's a really good choice. Rain laughed lightly, but I couldn't laugh with him. I have considered the probability of the Goblin King dealing with magic. Even some goblin warriors can use magic abilities. It would be foolish that the Goblin King could not. However, I expected that he could only use somewhere around beginner-level magic, not lower-level ones. There is no confirmation, but if the Goblin King's magic did not reach the lower level, Rain would not have recommended this ring to me. What could have happened if I was without the ring? No, what if I couldn't kill the Goblin King even with this ring? Stop thinking that way. I pulled out the ring from the inventory, took off my gauntlet for a moment, and wore the ring on my finger. You can't be scared with Rain supporting you this much. Rain seems to notice my determination as I wore the ring. Hoo-hoo. It's a really good look on you. He continued. Prepare carefully, practice boldly. Fate is fully prepared. You can be bold now. Yeah. I had no intention of taking this much longer, I replied. Rain approached with today's luck. I opened my mouth. I wish you good luck today, he said. Chapter 23, Goblin King, 2. I have to give this to you now. Rain took out a tall narrow glass. He wrapped a bottle with a towel and gently poured it into the glass. The glass slowly filled with blue sake. While I looked at it, I prayed that it would give me a bonus that was at least the same as before. The double experience I gained helped me a lot. Here you go, he said, placing the glass in front of me. I looked at Rain expectantly and put the drink in my mouth. A fresh scent tickled my nose. It had a unique sweetness. It was a cool and sweet drink, as I expected. Its taste was unlike anything I have ever eaten or drank. Then, a notification window appeared. Magic 50 increase is applied for 3 hours from the moment you leave the exclusive store. My eyes widened. I felt like I was struck by lightning. I didn't think I would have this effect. I was hoping for something related to experience and money, but I didn't know there would be anything that would boost my skills. Even if it's only for 3 hours, in that duration my magic is doubled. How was your luck today? Rain asked. It said my magic is increased by 50 for 3 hours. Isn't that awesome? I said excitedly. Well. Rain's reaction is what I expected. He is a man who can hardly be surprised. But one thing is for sure, this increases the likelihood that I will beat the boss. Rain, I'll go. See you in a day, I said, turning to leave. Fate. Just a moment. What is it? I had no money now, and whatever Rain will offer, I'm going to have to refuse it. I turned around with a rush. Rain was reaching out with his palms open. On top of them, there was a dark, shining object. It was a pocket watch. A circular item made of thick metal with a black chain connected to it. Something was engraved on it, but I could not recognize the symbols. It is a gift, he said. You need to figure out that the day has passed, right? It looks expensive. Is it free? Rain nodded. The watch is for Fate. Thank you. Why? I felt a mysterious sensation that I could not express in words and accepted the pocket watch from his hand. Rain was smiling at me tenderly. I opened the pocket watch. The clock was pointing at 8:42. It is evening. 8:42 p.m., he explained. I see. Could you tell me what the date is? Rain said in a gentle tone, May 21st, 20XX. Exactly 10 days had passed since the day I died. From now on, 50 magic increase will be applied. 3 hours. As soon as I left the exclusive store, I felt that the magic within me was greatly amplified. I struggled as to where to put the watch. I started to put it on the inventory but decided to stick it in a free spot within my armor because I was anxious that the 3-hour time would be up without me realizing. After that, out of habit, I activated my detection and confirmed that there was no enemy around. I took a deep breath and wore the helmet. It fit perfectly with the armor. Good. It's time. I went straight to the boss room. On my way, I encountered a few goblin warriors, but they were no match for me anymore. In case of an emergency, I took 2 bodies in my inventory and left the rest alone. My heart rate increased as I approached the boss room. I recalled the unknown monster behind the door, which was more frightening than the Goblin King. Calm down. You can do it. Do not die. Stay strong. I put a key in the keyhole with a big sigh. The door slowly opened, and I stepped in. The inside was very dark. Even though I was accustomed to the darkness, this was even darker than the places I've been. Also, unexpectedly, it was calm and quiet. The Goblin King sat in a small, tacky chair in the middle of the room. It was instantly noticeable that his armor and helmet were of better quality than the knights around him. I blinked. It seemed like they didn't notice me at all. There were 5 goblin knights in the room, and they all stood still like statues. I couldn't even tell if they were breathing. Are they luring me in? In any case, there was no reason to delay. I quickly rushed toward the nearest goblin knight and struck my sword on his neck. It was a power attack with amplified magic power. With that hit, the boss room suddenly brightened, as if we were under the midday sun. All the monsters in the room began to move and roared ferociously upon seeing me. Ki-yi! Ki! Ki-I-I! Ki! It was the beginning of the boss battle. Goblin Knight lifted a slender, sharp sword, but I blocked it away and swung my sword into his neck. It wasn't cut off completely, but the wound was severe. Meanwhile, Goblin Knight B, which was closest to us, rushed at us while screaming, Ki-yi! I jumped swiftly to dodge Knight B's attack. Knight A screamed and again tried to lift his sword, but he was already losing power. He fell to the ground and rolled. Knight B had a ruthless shield rush with sharp edges. As he rushed at me, I pulled out my sword and dodged. While staying within striking distance from B, I shot another black lightning strike at A. This time, A convulsed with a terrible scream. You gained 700 experience. You acquired 1 silver 75 bronze. Beginning Black Lightning has become LV9. Ki-yi. Knights reacted roughly to the death of their colleague. However, the Goblin King still had not moved. He sat there calmly, staring at me. Good for me, then. Somehow, kill more knights before he joins in. I picked up A's body and quickly placed his sword and armor into my inventory. I began to chew him from the head. Ki-yi. Knight B, C, D, and E all jumped at me from different directions, screaming. No matter how much armor I wear, it would be fatal to be crushed in their group assault. They are significantly stronger than warriors. I kept jumping and dodging them, but they just keep rushing at me. Soon, the distance between us narrowed, and the 4 goblin knights stood side by side in front of me. This is the moment I was waiting for. I fired Black Lightning with all my might. Ki-yi. C and E dropped to the floor after being hit. B solidified in place, but D remained standing, seemingly undamaged. I threw the corpse of A at D to block his movement and rushed towards B. Oh, such a strong spirit. Knight B couldn't move, but he managed to make himself fall down and roll on the floor to avoid me. It didn't matter. I just grabbed him and ran, increasing my distance from the other knights. Knight B continued to struggle, but I never let go. The room was so large, so I had to run quite a bit, but as soon as I saw the cave wall, I threw B against it. I used my throwing skill, and along it, with the momentum of the distance I ran, B crashed the wall with a loud noise, and he fell unconscious from the impact. Now, it was easy to finish him off. I hit the unconscious body with a power attack. You gained 1,600 experience. You acquired 1 silver 60 bronze. As I took off B's armor, I noticed one of the furious knights was pulling out a crossbow. I quickly used B's body to shield myself from the bolt. The corpse vibrated with the powerful attack. Gee! The Goblin King growled. However, he is still not moving from his chair. I rushed forward with Knight B's body as a shield. The other two knights were rushing at me with a spear and a sword, while the third one used his crossbow again. The second bolt flew in, and Knight B's corpse shook upon impact. After the bolt hit, I threw the body away, in time to dodge Knight D's spear. It was aimed at my face. Damn you! I had to twist my body in weird angles to avoid it while swinging my blood sword. It wasn't enough to fully amputate the knight's arms, but his blood spurted like a fountain. I pushed off the embarrassed Knight D with my shoulders. Right after that, Knight E stood in front of me, swinging his sword. I had a quick glance behind me and saw Knight C was aiming the crossbow again. I was between a sword and a crossbow. Suddenly, they attacked at the same time with the sword flashing with mana. I bent down at the right moment and dodged the sword, while the crossbow plugged into Knight E's body with a thud. It was quite a move. Kai-ap! Knight E screamed oddly. Still bending low, I swung my sword sideways at his legs. His right leg was chopped off at the ankle, and he fell helplessly. I jumped in and trampled his neck. You gained 1,580 experience. You acquired 1 silver 60 bronze. Key! Knight D jumped back in, snarling. Its cut arm was dangling uselessly, but he's trying to obstruct my movements as Knight C loads the fourth bolt. The Goblin King is slowly rising. I charged at the Goblin King, with my sword aimed towards him. Oh! The bolt flew and struck my forearm, but it didn't have much effect against my blood iron armor. It wasn't possible for his arrows to kill me. It wasn't until I tested its strength with Knight B's body that I became sure, but I know now that I could ignore Knight C and attack the Goblin King directly. I'm coming for you. Chapter 24. Goblin King 3. Goblin King 3. I felt a strong shock on my arm as Knight D jumped in and blocked my sword with his body. I was forced to take a step back as I pulled it out of him. You gained 1,690 experience. You acquired 80 silver bronze. Kai-ap! You slime! I was surprised. The Goblin King also knew how to speak. It wasn't Korean, but I understood him. Of course, it is not that important now. The Knight C shot another bolt. I expected it from the beginning, and I used Knight D's body as a shield. Pierced through the body. The next moment I was running towards Knight C. Key! It seemed like he was trying to reload a bolt, but the reloading of the crossbow took time. Time enough for me to cut him down. Realizing this, he quickly gave it up and threw the crossbow down. He pulled out a sword and swung it towards me. I rushed in, avoiding the sword of Knight C without difficulty. He had beginner's swordsmanship, but mine was at a lower level. He was no match. I cut off his neck without difficulty. You gained 1,750 experience. You acquired 80 silver bronze. Fireball! I heard a raspy voice. I turned. The Goblin King was staring at me, with 2 fireballs floating in the air beside him. Now it's just the 2 of us, I said, staring back at his bleak eyes. Kai-ap! It seemed like the Goblin King laughed at my words. Then he threw a fireball at me. I am relieved because its speed was not as fast as I worried about, and I spun to avoid it without difficulty. When I turned around, the Goblin King was holding a jeweled sword up. The sword shone as he waved it around. Immediately, goblin fighters and goblin warriors sprang up everywhere. You must be a fool. Just the 2 of us. The Goblin King laughed with wicked laughter. Goblin fighters and warriors all turned in my direction, aiming their weapons. Damn it! I spit out. Over 100 goblins were rushing towards me. It was the start of the struggle. After this battle, there is something I really want to say to Rain. Damn it! Rain, turn the pocket watch into a wristwatch. I had no time to check the pocket watch while fighting. Both hands were full. Swinging the bastard, clutching a corpse, shooting black lightning, tearing a corpse apart. I didn't have the chance to pull out the watch and look at the time. You're persistent, the Goblin King screamed. He was making sure that he is safe throughout the battle. He surrounded himself with fighters and warriors that continued to attack me, and if I appear to be exhausted or if I appear to be using skills, he'll shoot a flame ball straight away. The Goblin King was very prudent. I should not underestimate his skill. The flames he had brought out so far are all beginner-level skills. I sometimes pretended to be moderately exhausted to see if he's going to shoot out lower-level magic, but he has only shown beginner-level flame balls so far.
Cref.
I hit a warrior's neck and bit his body. Fighters and warriors rushed to me with red eyes. Whenever the sword in the hand of the Goblin King flashed, their numbers increased. That sword, as long as that sword is in his hand, he can make monsters freely. That was the conclusion I had after facing hundreds of monsters. But approaching him was never easy. He is surrounded by warriors, and I can't drop them with black lightning. As soon as I appear to be casting my ability, the king's flame balls come flying. Then how do I do it? If my magic power returns to its original state after 3 hours, then there will be no real odds in defeating the boss. I have to keep watching out for opportunities to shoot my enhanced black lightning. If I can somehow get close to him and give him a sense of crisis, he may be induced to shoot a lower flame spell. I shook my sword and cut down all the goblins around me. Now, my strength has reached a level that cannot be stopped by a fighter or a warrior. I jumped. I was able to jump quite high and quite far with the power of leap, which has reached the beginner's LV9. The Goblin King looked surprised. I shot a bolt of black lightning at him. "Key, you want to die." The range of leap and black lightning was not infinite, though. The Goblin King laughed as he realized this and fired 2 fireballs. The flame hit me and I fell down a group of warriors. However, I was able to hit the king with black lightning. "Okay!" I yelled. He suffered a lot of pain, while the beginner's magic that I received couldn't even burn through my armor. It did felt terribly hot for a moment, though. What's more, if I continue killing goblins, my armor will restore its durability. Kai-ap! Kerut! Since then, I tried using leap from time to time. Even though I tried hard to get close to him, the Goblin King completely eluded me. New fighters and warriors constantly appeared and stopped me. I used them all as prey, and I used leap every time my physical strength and magic allowed. "Stop! Key!" With leap, I was able to throw black lightning against the Goblin King. But the price was terrible. I take flame ball hits in the air, and goblin warriors rush at me immediately after landing. This time, the fireball of the angry Goblin King flew 3 by 3, and he didn't care even when he burned the flesh of his own warriors. My armor was greatly heated, and the heat feels like it's cooking my flesh within the armor. Ka-ah! I screamed and stretched my hand around and randomly ate everything. I feel my flesh burning, but at the same time, infinite blood spurting from all around me was accelerating the healing of the wound. Even if this is repeated infinitely, I will not die. However, I had to deal with the pain. There was nothing I could do. It is necessary. I need to be seen constantly repeating leap carelessly, for the Goblin King to mistake it as an opportunity to shoot a lower-level flame ball. Suddenly, leap's level increased. Beginner leap becomes LV10 and evolves into a lower leap. The height and distance that can be leaped at a time increase considerably. You can increase the efficiency of leap by consuming mana. Heaven did not forsake me. I didn't expect it. Jumpable distance and height increased just when I needed it. Now it's done. You can reach him. However, this is not enough. I have to show weakness. I need to create conditions for the Goblin King to use his full power. Then, seize the momentary opportunity. Kai-ah! I screamed as I continued to kill the warriors around me. You gained 380 experience. You acquired 70 bronze. You gained 40 experience. You acquired 10 bronze. Kirik, a persistent person. Once again, I jumped and sprayed black lightning everywhere. The Goblin King was hit once more, and he screamed in pain and fury, raising his jeweled sword. This time, it shone with an unusual light, and some goblin fighters evolved into goblin knights. Damn it! I became alert. As it has been so far, knights cannot be ignored as a mob. Immediately, I killed a goblin warrior and rushed with him as a shield. I rushed as hard as I could and knocked out the nearest knight. Shortly thereafter, the Goblin King's fireball once again poured over my head. In time with him, the two knights came down with me with a large sword. Both swords were flashing with the power of skill. Shoo! I rolled to the left to avoid one, but one fell on my back and smashed my armor. It reached my back. I screamed in pain, but rushed straight at the knight and cut off his neck. That time, the movements of the goblins around me were like wolves who found their prey's weakness. You gained 1,600 experience. You acquired 1 silver 60 bronze. You have acquired the beginner regeneration skill. Wounds heal at a very slow rate. As I ate the whole knight's face, I noticed the Goblin King's movement began to change. He was slowly coming down from the chair. Perhaps his plans changed because he saw I was hurt. I'm going to finish this, he said. It seems that he's using up more mana in summoning knights. The frequency of the flame balls has been gradually decreasing. It means that he started to save his mana. If I rush at him, he will shoot a more intense flame than I ever had. He would think that he's pulling me into the trap, but it's actually what I have been waiting for. Biting the knight's body, rushing like a maniac, wildly wielding the sword, I came at him. The Goblin King smiled, puffed up, and pointed at me with a jeweled sword. The bodies of the goblins near me exploded. What? I rolled the floor, shocked. That was totally unexpected. What's more, a knight just outside the scope of explosion jumped as if he was waiting for me to roll, and struck me with his heavy sword. Agoa! My vision was shaking, and my ears were ringing. So I bounced off the floor using leap skill with the intention of avoiding any further attacks. Gasping for breath, leaving my blood colossal sword where I jumped from, I found the Goblin King's gaze chasing me up the air. The way he looked at me was like how a snake would look at a frog. In his hands bloomed a powerful flame, and the joy in his eyes seemed to foretell my destruction. Chapter 25. Goblin King 4. End of Volume 1. Goblin King 4. End of Volume 1.
Kahti.
Just as the Goblin King waited for the best timing to launch his full power flame, I too have waited for this. As I hang in the air for a second, I calculated my next steps. Suddenly, huge flame balls came towards me, but the ring skill triggered before they hit me. Kaya Wayok! I was almost covered by flames, but in just a second, it was the Goblin King's body that burned. It seemed that his defense against magic is not that strong. His body caught fire quickly.
Kia.
Screaming in pain, the Goblin King wielded his sword wildly. But this time it was the Goblin Explosion ability once more, not summons. Maybe the sword's ability is limited, so perhaps it is only the explosion spell that's available now. However, it could also be that the Goblin King is not on the normal state of mind, because he should have chosen to summon warriors to defend himself, rather than attack once more. Immediately after landing, I used leap again to get within killing distance. I couldn't retreat now. I have full faith in my armor. The wound on my back hurt so much, but I ignored it. There were explosions all around me, but I have to kill him if I didn't want to die. The moment I broke through the last explosion, nothing got in the way between him and me. His terrified eyes looked very refreshing to me. The end of my sword found its way towards the Goblin King's neck. However, before the blade was able to successfully cut through, his hand grabbed my arm. He yelled in pain. Suddenly, his eyes started to radiate a strange green light. I felt the ebon heart thump violently. Why? As soon as the question came up on my mind, the Goblin King cried out, "Obey me!" Upon hearing his words, my hand with a sword relaxed and lowered down a little. I tried to cut off his neck, but my hands did not move. Geek. Despite the pain, he laughed. It was a wicked smile. The Goblin King even had the ability to control the enemy. Confusion and embarrassment filled me. You were quite annoying. He raised himself and yelled arrogantly, "You will be my escort from now on." At that very moment, the heart of the Ebon Heart ran wild. An alert window popped up in front of me. Ebon Heart, you will be able to detect the crisis. Positive corrections are made to all combat activities. The body evolves infinitely as it grows. Repels all spirit-based magic. Ew. I lifted the sword. The Goblin King turned his head in surprise, and once again radiated green light, but it didn't matter. I put all the mana left on my sword and struck. It was on the exact same place that was deeply cut earlier, and once I connected, I released black lightning with all my power. How did you? Kaya! In an instant, the Goblin King's head flew in the air. All the goblins that were still alive fell dead. You gained 12,860 experience. You got 1 gold and 10 silver. Beginner power attack has become LV6. The Goblin King's sword fell to the ground with a metallic clang. Slowly, the sword dissolved, leaving only red gems. Soon, the gems also disappeared, along with the armor he was wearing. You obtained Palcadia's gem enemy. You obtained Cheesia's leather armor. Hoo-hoo! I looked around. I am the only one left standing in the wide-open cavity. The throne where the Goblin King was sitting also dissolved, and a shabby wooden box formed in its place. A large hole formed in the wall behind it. I realized that that was the entrance to 2F. I was right. Really tired. I was really curious about the second floor, but I wanted to rest. It was a terrible experience not to have control over my body. There was still cold sweat on my forehead. It was an incomparable horror with the lower flame magic. It may be because I wasn't prepared for it at all. However, I was able to fully understand why Rain prepared me for the flame magic and not for the mind control one. He didn't have to. He knew I would not be enchanted. He knows about my ebon heart better than me, but I wish he could have said a word. It's a really nasty ability. As I cursed him over and over, I fell and stayed down to rest. That was exhausting. It was really scary. I thought I was going to die this time. There was no rest. From explosions to flames to mental domination, it was a series of extreme tension. If you still do not eat, the quest will not be resolved. If you don't eat, your abilities won't rise. If you don't eat, you don't get higher abilities, and if you don't eat, you can't evolve. I stood up. In front of me is the Goblin King's corpse, neither large nor small in size. I feel like burning it down, but I can't. I sighed, picking up his head, and muttered, I will enjoy this food. The Goblin King burned in moderation, so it was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. There was no seasoning, but it was still the most delicious body I have eaten since I opened my eyes as a goblin. It isn't an analogy. This one really tasted like chicken. What is it with the skill of predation? Does it have the ability to replace a disgusting-looking and disgusting-tasting food with flavors and tastes that the brain remembers as delicious? It didn't matter anyway. I have to eat them anyway. And if it can make eating more delicious, thank you. I continued predating the Goblin King's corpse in a more relaxed manner. It had a lot of parts. The head had an interesting taste, the limbs tasted like chicken legs, and the body tastes like chicken breast. That was really yummy. For the first time in my life, I felt grateful for my predation skills. Suddenly, a notification popped up. Predation after hunting Goblin King 1/1. Magic has risen 5. You acquired beginner flame magic. So far, I had hoped to get the flame magic, but I did not expect it too much. I thought if I get it, it would be at the lower level, but the beginner level is not bad at all. But there's more. Predation has become LV3. Predation LV3. Eating acts to restore health, mana, and injuries. Can resist some degree of toxicity. The efficiency when absorbing the power of the eaten is slightly increased. This was totally unexpected. I opened my eyes wide. I ate up a lot since it reached LV.2, but it didn't increase, so I have given up on it. Was it because the Goblin King was an upgraded opponent? Of course, there is no one to explain this to me. All I can do is rejoice. Predation can restore injuries. The torn skin, the cuts, the wounds can all be healed. Of course, the extent of recovery may not be that great yet, but if combined with the regeneration I obtained, the probability of dying in battle is greatly reduced. And predation is now level 3. Level 4? Level 5? Level 6? Obviously, there is more power I never imagined. I turned my eyes. Dead knights were scattered around. Now they look like golden chunks of meat. I rushed to them without hesitation. Predation after hunting Goblin Knights February 5th. Beginner archery became LV4. You acquired beginner power arrow. Predation after hunting Goblin Knights March 5th. Health increased by 1. The Goblin Knight has a tough skin like a Goblin Warrior's, but the middle was as tender as the King's flesh. It feels chewy and tastes like a chicken cutlet. Even if it's not as good as the King's, it's also quite tasty. I laughed upon realizing my thoughts. At first, I felt so disgusted by a monster's corpse, but now I'm eating them and making comments like a food critic. I didn't know that I would adapt to this grim situation. Neither my mother nor my father would know, but I liked what I am now than I was before. The human Kong Siha held only one advantage against Hobgoblin Kong Siha, a human body. But when I ate the 4th Goblin Knight, something happened that made me prouder. Only. Predation after hunting Goblin Knights April 5th. Beginner archery became LV5. Congratulations! Satisfied the condition for upper skill synthesis. The moment I saw the notification, I stopped and traced back what I was doing. I ate a Goblin Knight and beginner archery reached LV5. Upper skill? Synthesis? I can't guess what it is. Fortunately, a reminder followed. Upper skill martial arts synthesis possible. Acquire martial arts-related skills, swordsmanship, of lower level 5 or higher. Acquire 5 or more martial arts-related skills, swordsmanship, archery, smash, spear, throw, of beginner level 5 or higher. Acquire 2 or more combat support skills, detection, leap, of lower level or higher. Chapter 26. The Third Evolution, 1. The Third Evolution, 1. The moment I saw the reminder, I immediately realized that only a few could satisfy this condition. I think achieving lower level 5 is possible with a sword and a spear, but it would take a long time. I've significantly reduced the time by predating fighters, warriors and knights with swordsmanship. The other conditions would be a problem for others. Even at a beginner level, it is hard to reach level 5 for other martial arts-based skills. If one is determined to reach it, it is possible, but it meant constantly changing weapons to improve the level. That's why this skill would be hard to achieve unless one had predation to steal other monsters' abilities. Of course, another factor would be that people may not know about reaching an advanced skill-required conditions such as these. So far, the monsters I met in this dungeon, as well as humans, appeared to have dull nerves and movements. They seem not to have skills such as detection and leap. Their skill levels are likely to reach the beginner level 2 and not exceed it at all. This is not the only thing I've learned through the notification window. I have a predation skill which will result in an increasing number of skills. If so, I may be able to synthesize other advanced skills other than martial arts in the future. After all, this is also a strength of predation. A higher skill is a skill that appears when a certain condition is satisfied based on a lower skill. It is difficult to raise the level, but it has high power even at the same level and has various benefits. Would you like to synthesize to lower martial arts? In that case, lower swordsmanship, beginner spear, beginner smash, beginner archery, and lower throwing will disappear. Combat support skills are further enhanced by the effects of martial arts skills. Yes. No. I had a little conflict. Lower martial arts is obviously a good skill, but it starts at level 1. My swordsmanship is already at lower level 6. It may be painful to start again from level 1. What's more, leap and detection are essential to me. But maybe the martial arts skill will let me deal with all weapons and amplify the beginner level powers. Hesitation is natural, but in the end, by learning this, I will become stronger. I closed my eyes and chose yes. Lower swordsmanship, lower throwing, beginner spear, beginner smash, beginner archery have been extinguished. You acquired lower martial arts LV1. You can handle all weapons. Enhances the power of combat support skills. I felt a good feeling of relief and satisfaction. It was exactly what I expected. Now, it seemed that I would be able to wield any weapon at a high level. That doesn't mean I forgot that the swordsmanship went down from level 6 to level 1. My swordsmanship wouldn't have the same power, but it would not have fallen significantly. What's more, This could be easily remedied by predating monsters dealing with swords. Good. It was a good thing to synthesize martial arts. I became stronger. The chances of survival are even higher. I was so happy. Pray 5 out of 5 after hunting goblin knights. Achieve quest. You gained 200,000 experience. You got 10 gold. The level has risen a lot. You got 3 lower health potions. You got 3 iron javelins. Then came the moment I was looking forward to. Evolution is possible. Choose a race to evolve into. 1. Hobgoblin Fighter. 2. Hobgoblin Mage. 3. Hobgoblin Warrior. 4. Hobgoblin Commander. 5. Hobgoblin Assaulter. I seem to get a little sense of the law of evolution. The first evolution was from an ordinary goblin to a goblin fighter, and the second evolution was to become a more advanced species in the fighter, or to become an advanced species, a hobgoblin. Now, the third evolution is to move from hobgoblin to another higher species. I do not know when the fourth evolution would be, but maybe at that time, I will get a chance to escape from being a hobgoblin and turn into a different monster. No, it's okay if it does not happen on the 4th, the 5th, or the 6th. As long as I could move into a higher level species, I'll take the opportunity. During the first evolution, I had no choice. On the second evolution, I got a choice to be a hobgoblin. This time, there were 5 options to choose from. I hesitated. Fighter, Mage, Warrior. These 3 are easy to interpret. Maybe it's because I have both martial arts and magic. Fighters and warriors will be superior for melee attacks, and wizards will be superior for magic attacks. Fighters have more aggressive features than warriors. If you think about it, goblin knights come from goblin fighters, not warriors. Warriors are strong enough not to go through the fighter phase. If I choose any of these 2, I'll become stronger in a melee fight. However, black lightning is very important for me, and I also just acquired flame magic. I shouldn't rush to lose these abilities. The 4th and 5th options, however, I checked the information. Hobgoblin Commander, a high-level species that could direct other hobgoblins. Can command goblins with high leadership skills, elevate the powers of the subordinates, catch strong monsters that are hard to face alone. The Troll, an intermediate monster, fears and avoids a hobgoblin commander's group. Hobgoblin Assaulter, a rare variant of the hobgoblin, possessing various skills related to attack and magic. A terrifyingly combative monster polished to hunt intermediate monsters with combat and magic abilities. Fighters, Mage, Warrior, and Commander all sound good. However, the Assaulter is described as rare in the notification window. A commander who can catch strong monsters by leading a group. An assaulter who lives by hunting strong monsters. There are certainly pros and cons to each of the 4th and 5th options, and it is clear that their abilities are incomparable to that of a simple fighter or mage. My choice has been decided. I haven't even gotten an opportunity to use leadership ability so far. It is at a lower level, but I haven't used it. In short, it is useless. No way. Logically, it will be a great risk to choose commander and eventually find out that I have no group to lead. Even emotionally, the assaulter feels more attractive. It is the top species specialized in combat. Fighting with everything you have and defeating all enemies. I was convinced that this was the way I should go. After confirming the safety of my surroundings, I boldly chose the 5th option, the Hobgoblin Assaulter, and waited for the pain to come. The bones of my whole body are displaced and distorted. My skin was torn, my muscles were cracked, and my blood was soaring through the air. My face seemed to be torn apart. Headaches that seemed to like dozens of knives stabbing have engulfed me. Go. But knowing that this pain will not kill me, and what the outcome would be, made the pain bearable. Beginner regeneration has become LV2. Lower level resistance has become LV5. Yeah, why not? Resistance also grew during the last evolution, and in the process of wounding and restoring it, the regeneration skill increased inevitably in this situation where countless bones are broken, the flesh is crushed, and blood flows. Beginner regeneration has become LV3. Regeneration grew to 2 levels at a time. It's a great thing and I'm happy, but it also says how much wounds and pain I'm receiving for this skill to grow twice rapidly. Ag. GH. I tried to distract myself with thoughts about getting stronger to escape the pain of reality until finally, the pain began to fade. I opened my eyes. I took off the armor that had increased in size in proportion to my body and checked myself for changes. My arms and legs got thicker, looking more powerful and overwhelming than before. What's more, unlike my previous green-brown skin, my skin now turned dark. Maybe the ebon heart had an effect. Or is it typical of assaulters to have dark skin? I also grew in height. I had no choice but to estimate it by looking down on the ground. I think I am over 180 centimeters. As a human, I was quite short. Of course, I am a monster now, and that made all the difference. Hobgoblin Assaulter. Lower martial arts has become LV2. Beginner flame magic has become LV2. Beginner black lightning has become LV10 and evolves to lower black lightning. The range and power of black lightning increased. Beginner power attack has become LV7. Beginner power arrow has become LV2. Beginner surprise has become LV10 and evolves into the lower surprise. Hiding ability is more proficient, and when launching a surprise attack, the attack power is increased. As evolution progressed, my skills continued to increase in level. Martial arts, magic, attack skills, surprise. All skills related to the identity of a hobgoblin assaulter improved. Surprise is a skill that I liked very much because it does not use up too much mana. Nevertheless, it grew slowly because there were only a few instances where I can use it. I could not use it during the mass appearances that I triggered. Kong Siha, Fate. Hobgoblin Assault LV40. Strength, 205 Stamina, 184 Magic, 105 Luck. Skill Ebon Heart, Predation LV3, Lower Martial Arts LV2, Lower Armor Defense LV8, Lower Regeneration LV3, Lower Flame Magic LV2, Lower Black Lightning LV1, Lower Power Attack LV7, Lower Power Arrow LV2, Lower Leap LV2, Lower Leap LV7, Lower Surprise LV1, Lower Leadership LV3. I can't help but smile as I looked at the status. After the evolution, I had a 40 increase for both strength and magic and received 20 increase for stamina. What's more, all I can see now are lower level skills. Out of joy, I began to make a few leaps, trying Black Lightning, and wield my sword to test my new strength. I continued to do that until a new notification popped in front of my eyes, as if reminding me that I have forgotten what I'm here for. Chapter 27. The Third Evolution, 2. The Third Evolution, 2. Quest generated. You conquered a very small part of the Black Palace. However, the Black Palace is wider and deeper than you can imagine. Go ahead and prove yourself. Remember, it's not just the Black Palace that you have to conquer. Predation of Hunted Werewolves 0/2, 000. Predation of Hunted Battle Spiders 0/2, 000. Predation of Hunted Werewolf Elites 0 out of 500. Predation of Hunted Battle Spider Assassins 0/500. Predation of Hunted Giant Wolf 0/5. Predation of Hunted Giant Spider 0/5. Conquering the floors of Jinma Tower 0 out of 10. If the quest giver was a monster in front of me right now, I would have cut it down with my blood colossal sword. Are you sure you want to give up on the quest? No. Who's giving up? Is the fourth evolution that difficult? There were so many things to catch and eat. What's more, what is this Jinma Tower? I gathered my thoughts. The quests are always aligned to my situation and suggest appropriate tasks with regard to my level. I'll probably start meeting werewolves and battle spiders when I come up to the second floor. Werewolf elites and battle spider assassins. These were probably higher level monsters, with the words elite and assassin appended to their names. The giant wolves and giant spiders may be of a different level and even higher than the elites and assassins, since the names have changed, as hobgoblins are to goblins. I'll meet each of them naturally as I go deeper into the second floor. Even if the quest seems hard right now, if I take it on and complete it gradually, I'll eventually be able to catch them all. At least, I am sure that I can compete with them with the power of Hobgoblin Assaulter. There are two things left unclear: Jinma Tower and werewolves. I've heard of werewolves. Under the moonlight, they transform into powerful beings whose bites could turn humans into werewolves like them. Although werewolves have a human form, it doesn't mean I would want to be bitten by them. The information I know about them is mostly from novels and movies, and there is no guarantee that it works that way in reality. Even if it worked that way, I am very likely to become a wolf goblin rather than a werewolf with a human form, so I wouldn't risk it. The worst-case scenario is that I could die after being bitten. But what is Jinma Tower? I can't figure it out alone. The only way to find out is to ask Rain. I hope the information fee is not expensive, I thought, as I set out to do the last thing I have to do in this room. To find out what the wooden box contained. The wooden box appeared suddenly upon the Goblin King's death. I hoped it had a reasonable prize for someone who has conquered the dungeon. In the past, during the first mass appearance, I remembered that I felt the dungeon was trying to kill me. Eventually, I learned that the dungeon had its own laws and rules that I just have to abide by to survive. If it wanted to kill me unconditionally, it would not have given me the boss room key. It would just let me enter the room and face the terrible unknown. Fortunately, I received the key and was able to face the Goblin King. I was armed just in case and kicked the box open. There was an elongated staff inside. Irma's Carnelian Staff, 200/200. Magic attack 250. It is a good weapon. It required me to get an emotion scroll from the dedicated store in order to check the detailed information, but the strength of the magic attack shown was enough for me to decide that it was a powerful one. However, this has no use for me. I am a melee fighter using magic as support, not as my main attack. I was hoping for a sword, not a staff. Something that could be better than the blood colossal sword that I have. I wanted the sword that the Goblin King had, but it melted away. Only the jewels in it remained. I took a red jewel out of the inventory with a bit of anticipation. Pelcadia's gem? Red? Oh no, again? The gem also needed me to get an emotion scroll. It was not making life easier. Blood Colossal Sword, 197/268. Attack 118. Blood Colossal Sword is also growing day by day, soaking in blood, but the growth wasn't as fast as I wanted. It was unfortunate. I checked the Goblin King's armor. It was a quality leather armor incomparable to the rugged ones of a warrior or a knight. Even though it looked like it needed repair, I'm willing to change to it if it's better than the blood iron armor. Keisha's leather armor, 37/350. Defense 200. It certainly had excellent defensive power, but it was quite weaker than compared to the blood iron armor. What's more, the blood iron armor still had the capacity to increase gradually, a feature that the leather armor does not have. I'll leave it in the inventory right now. I don't want to use it, but it doesn't mean I have to throw it away. As soon as I've checked the gem and the armor, I had an instant desire. If I go outside the dungeon to meet Rain, will the Goblin King be here once more when I come back? Then, could I get a different weapon than the staff? I wiped the thoughts away as I shook my head. If I was certain I'll get a great sword if I do the Goblin King battle again, I would. However, the probability is that I'll get the same staff once more. What's more, I'm not even sure I can meet the Goblin King again, so there is no time to waste here. It's important to get stronger quickly now. I took a deep breath and prepared myself. The staff was thrown into the inventory, detection was activated to the maximum, and I stepped into the hole that appeared when the Goblin King died. I was covered in darkness. There was total silence, save for the sound my footsteps make. At first, I was listening to my footsteps mindlessly as I walked, and then I realized how stupid I was. What arrogance, I thought. I've always moved carefully, but now I'm walking with a loud noise. Every monster within my range could hear this. I was lucky I had survived so far. With my detection ability, I've confirmed that there was no one around. I was in the space between the first and the second floor, and it seems to be a safe place until I walked onwards. Arrogance is the enemy of growth. I should never be satisfied with myself. It is annoying. The noise I made was very annoying. There may be a way to make less sound. There has to be a way to kill the sound. Remove my presence so much that I won't even notice myself. It's silly to go to the second floor like this. How can I surprise werewolves and spiders while making this noise? I thought about my strength. As a hobgoblin assaulter, the skill that grew the most was surprise. With that, I realized it is the most specialized technique for killing enemies and surviving. Will I give up now? I could never. I turned around and looked back at the light where I came from. I seemed to be in a space between light and dark, and my detection confirmed that there was no one else. This is a safe place if I stay here. No, I can't go back. I turned away from the light and remained in the dark. As long as I know what I'm doing wrong, I could solve it. I had to solve it. Lower surprise has become LV2. I didn't know how much time had passed. It was impossible to check the pocket watch in the dark. It didn't seem like a long time, and I was just walking around in the dark, but surprise leveled up. It was as if a confirmation that what I was doing was right. With that, I went back to the ground floor first to stock up on goblin warriors. Food was indispensable if I was going to stay in the dark for a long time. My inventory as a hobgoblin assaulter has increased to 54. All the spaces were empty, aside from the slots with the potions, staff, gem, and armor. I began to fill the empty space with goblin warrior bodies. Out of the blue, a horrible realization struck me. I remembered that there were 2 men who entered the dungeon and got killed by a goblin warrior. I killed the warrior before the men's corpses have been consumed. However, the men's bodies were missing. The inventory had no function to delete items. There could only be one possibility. I ate the bodies of the men. I had countless battles. In the middle of a life and death battle, it was impossible to distinguish the flesh I was consuming. Ugh! I felt like vomiting as soon as I realized it. Tears flowed violently from my eyes as I knelt and retched on the ground. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Why didn't I notice it? I could have placed their bodies in the inventory. What I did was a terrible taboo. Damn it! Damn it! But I am alive now because of that. Eating human bodies. The bodies of 2 humans I didn't know helped me survive. In a situation where you might die, and you can only survive by eating a human body, wouldn't you eat it? If I had to eat them to survive, then I would choose to survive. Then, will I never eat humans again for the rest of my life? I was able to give a definite answer to that question. No, it's unthinkable and detestable, but the most important thing for me was to survive. If a situation drives me to eat humans, I will eat humans. But not like this. I need a standard. Now you can judge for sure. The bodies of the 2 men were something I should not eat. They just entered the dungeon, fought the goblin warrior, and died. However, I chewed and gnawed on their heads and limbs as if it was nothing. It was a sacrilege against both men. Sorry. I closed my eyes tightly as I apologized to the 2 men who have been eaten and left with no traces. I will never forget this until I die. I've already strayed far from humans, but I won't forget my humanity. It's time to set a definitive standard so as not to defile my will as a human being. I decided not to be a predator for humans who I'll come across in the future. If I allow myself to be aggressive, I will end up preying on the whole of humanity. Yes, even my family. However, I will not hesitate to butcher and devour those who would treat me as a monster and threaten my survival. My enemies will not respect me just because I respect them, so it would be better to take their life before they take mine. I know, it seems like an ambiguous standard, but the main point is, I will still eat humans in the future. What's important for me is to survive. There must be no hesitation. If I had to choose between dignity and life, I had to save my life. I could not choose to die just to save my human heart. I raised my head. Only, the feeling of vomiting disappeared. The stomach emptied through vomiting now had an intense sense of hunger. Self-confidence has returned. I was convinced of how to think and act moving forward. First, I have to fill my stomach. I pledged to myself out loud. Monsters are my enemies. Some humans are monsters. And I am not human anymore. I am a monster. I am a monster. I was a human, but I am a monster now. As I filled up the inventory and walked back to the darkness, I kept repeating the words to myself. Fate is a name that means death. TL note. I had to completely rewrite this part since it used wordplay tying fate and death in the Ross. Chapter 28. 2F Entry 1. 2F Entry 1. Training in the dark had the power to make one forget time. The darkness was an empty space, no sound, no texture, no smell. Only I was there, and I concentrated on erasing my presence. Lower surprise has become LV3. I can't be satisfied with that. I continued walking through the darkness, ignoring the notification window. Quietly but quickly. Be careful that no one, even me, realizes my movements. I also tried to reduce my consumption as much as possible, even when I was hungry. It wasn't easy. However, the more challenging it was, the more rewarding it will be. I just practiced silently. Lower surprise has become LV5. Even as I reached lower surprise LV5, I simply continued walking through the dark passage. Then, I happened at the aisle frequented by goblin warriors. What? I was embarrassed, not knowing how I got here. This aisle was on the ground floor. I was supposed to walk back to the boss room. Apparently, a new Goblin King has been created in the boss room, so the passage that I was in, the space connecting 1F and 2F, led to a different space. I would need a key to the boss room once more. I contemplated if it was worth it beating the new Goblin King, decided against it, and returned to the dark passage. With this change in the passage, there was no problem to get food. I felt relieved as I started training in the darkness again. Time began to pass. Lower surprise has become LV6. Lower martial arts became LV3. Is surprise also a technique related to martial arts? Or could it be a combat support type of skill? I was in the dark to practice surprise, but somehow the martial arts ability also increased. Lower surprise has become LV8. I replenished my food twice and continued practicing. The notification window informed me that surprise had reached level 8. By that time, I was almost melting naturally in the darkness. The increase made me hesitate. I wonder if I'm ready to go on. However, this was not yet satisfactory. If I go out of the aisle and enter the 2F, I would have to deal not only with the werewolves and battle spiders but possibly their higher classes. Repressing impatience and anxiety, I remained back into the darkness. It won't take long now, just a little more, and finally it came. Lower surprise has become LV10 and evolves to intermediate surprise. Be more hidden, faster. Lower martial arts became LV4. You acquired the beginner fairy tale skill. Beginner fairy tale LV1. Camouflage naturally in the surrounding environment. This is an advanced skill in which not only the physical but also the mana presence is matched to the surrounding environment. When combined with the surprise skill, it increases the power of surprise and increases the success rate. When the notification window appeared, I stopped walking. When I first stepped into this dark passage, surprise was at the beginning of the lower class, but I grew it to intermediate. Moreover, aside from my ultimate goal of increasing the power of surprise, I also acquired the fairy tale skill, which allowed me to camouflage with my surroundings. It is described as an advanced skill. In other words, it had the same rating as martial arts skill. This was an unexpected yet welcome reward. I stood there pondering for a while. Then, I nodded to myself. I decided to stop training. I am not satisfied with the level of intermediate. I haven't mastered enough to make myself dissolve into thin air, be part of the darkness. However, I can't just stay here forever. My main quest was not to master surprise, but to clear out the 2F monsters. I was convinced that an intermediate surprise skill will be enough to defeat the top classes in 2F. Moreover, there will definitely be another dark passage between 2F and 3F. If I don't think that my surprise is going to work on 3F, I can resume training when I get there. Okay, let's go. But there is a place I had to stop by first. It is the place where I can get the information. I need to complete my new quest. I head on to the dedicated store. You are here, Fate. The training in the dark would not have been that short. It was at least 2 days. No, to raise the surprise skill from the lower level to intermediate, it might have been anywhere around 3 weeks to a month. But Rain welcomed me as if we saw each other yesterday. I smiled and asked him, Rain, how long has it been since I came last time? It is 4 days. That's ridiculous. Yes, It doesn't make any sense. Rain laughed and put down the glass. Fate's talent is it's ridiculously superior. He knows what I've been doing. He understood that I have been taking the surprise skill to the intermediate level. Rain is a strong being. I couldn't dream of reaching his level, but here he is at the counter of the dedicated store, teasing me. I feigned impatience. I'm less than normal. You are. I won't lie. But in just 4 days, Fate has experienced great growth both physically and mentally. What would you call it if you don't call it a talent? I was speechless as I listened to him, teasing me. It really only took 4 days to raise a lower skill to an intermediate one? No, don't be proud. I reminded myself. You should not be arrogant. Maybe it was possible because the passage was too dark, and it felt like nothing existed except me. Even without talent, the darkness was conducive for the surprise skill's growth. In fact, my martial arts skill did not develop to intermediate in 4 days. You cannot be satisfied with yourself for a skill that only grew because of a special situation. You should try harder, more. I came out of my thoughts and looked up to Rain. He was holding a glass. I started to explain to him about the quest I received and the Jinma Tower. Rain nodded after listening to me. Fate's thoughts are all correct. Spiders and wolves live on the 2nd floor of the Black Palace District 7. They are fighting each other, killing each other, no doubt or worry. Go ahead. As you've always been, Fate will be able to go deeper and farther. What about the Jinma Tower? Oh, do you need information fees? No information fees are required. Fate may not know, but you have been there. I have been there? Sure. The Tower of Jinma. His smile grew darker. It is a safe training center. A safe training center? That's right. This was where Fate is staying to train, and it's like a dedicated store. It's a safe place. I see. I nodded. I understand now. The Jinma Tower is a battlefield, but without any danger. I took today's luck before I left the exclusive store. Rain poured red wine, and it flowed like blood into the glass. It gave a subtle buff that increased my stamina by 30 for 3 hours. Physical fitness is divided into 2 roles. The first role, stamina, is for defense while strength was for the offense. Higher stamina enables your body to take more damage and last longer in dangerous situations. It was an important stat. The problem is that today's luck increases the amount of stamina that I could gain with a little predation. It was different with magic. When today's luck gave me a boost, my magical abilities got more powerful, along with giving me more mana. Even it was also possible to restore mana through predation. It won't be able to increase the magical power, so it helped me a lot. Rain looked at my face and noticed my disappointment. With a bitter laugh, he said, "Oh, it seems you got unlucky." That moment, I realized something through his words. Today's luck is a completely random buff available once every 24 hours. I am disappointed with the fact that my stamina increased, and was hoping for something else. What was I thinking? I have trained so much. There is no point depending on a random buff. I slapped my cheeks with both hands. The rough pain made my mind clear. My cheeks were tingling. Fate. No, I'm fine. I just needed to be awake. The exclusive shop with Rain is a kind and gentle space for me. I am grateful for it, but I shouldn't get used to it. Depending on a dedicated store is dangerous. I had to improve and get myself stronger through effort and practice. 2F is a place that I had to challenge with my skills. I told Rain. I have no complaints with today's luck. Moreover, I laughed, looking at the hot drink. The wine was very tasty. It was worth the disappointment. Rain laughed heartily before he sent me off. Chapter 29. 2F Entry 2. 2F Entry 2. Unlike in the dedicated store where there was only Rain, or in the dark passageway where it was empty, there were countless stimuli that bothered me the moment I entered 2F. There were countless signs of life within my range. I took these signs all in as I entered and felt dizzy immediately. I have to stay calm. I have to orient myself and melt in with the surroundings. My detection has risen to LV7, so I couldn't be swayed by this situation. I went forward without hesitation, erasing my footsteps and my presence, including my mana. Not only did I have an intermediate surprise, but I also had a new skill called Fairy Tale. Now, the Fairy Tale is only at beginner LV1, but it is also considered an advanced skill as written on the notification window description. The closest sign of life within my 30-meter detection range was bigger yet harder to detect than a goblin warrior. It looks bad. A huge wolf appeared within my view, walking in a path ahead of me, standing about 2 meters tall. I was surprised a little. This is the werewolf? This isn't the top class yet? It was on an entirely different dimension than a goblin warrior or a goblin knight. The level difference was too much. I was filled with a desire to complain, but facing this monster confirmed that the level difference between the monsters increased by floor level. Moreover, I was confident that I could fight the werewolf. However, if I hadn't trained for my surprise skill, I would have struggled immediately, just after I entered the 2F. My goblin life seemed to be at a permanent hard mode. I hid my presence and walked to him. Slowly, I walked into his line of sight. He looked at my direction momentarily but found nothing and turned his way again. I smiled inside. My lower-level surprise skill, combined with Fairy Tale, allows me to be unseen. I quickened my pace with one goal: his exposed throat. Now, the instant I revealed myself, the wolf immediately saw me and tried to swipe with his giant paw, but my colossal sword was quicker and stabbed his neck deeply. I used my lower power attack LV7. Ka-ia! The surprise attack succeeded, and the impact was enormous. The werewolf, with a deep wound on his neck, screamed and rolled the floor, staining his entire body with red blood. My body stiffened a little after using the skill, but I recovered before the wolf got up. I shot a black lightning bolt immediately. The lightning bolt hit the wound and spread through his whole body, and for a moment the body of the wolf was petrified. It was an opportunity not to be missed. I rushed at him and used a power attack once more. My blood colossal sword slashed the already bleeding throat, making more blood spurt in the air. Ow, ow! Suddenly, the wolf leaped at me, opening his jaws wide. I tried to avoid it as soon as I recovered from my stiffness, but his speed exceeded my expectations. The wolf moved more agilely than before, desperate to land an attack before he died. The movement appeared to be a skill. I made an instantaneous decision and blocked the attack with my shoulder. His fangs snapped powerfully, and in an instant, my armor shattered, and an agonizing pain ran through my body. Ugh! However, if I step back because of the pain, it would be the last thing I do. I clenched my teeth and swung my sword with my left hand, cutting into his open throat deeper. This time I was certain. His life has ended. You gained 3,700 experience. You obtained 2 silver, 30 bronzes. You obtained werewolf fur. My right shoulder was stiff with pain because the wolf managed to attack me as it died. It still hung by its jaws on my shoulder. I read the notification window to distract myself. The experience reward is more than twice that of a goblin knight. If so, it was understandable that it was this strong. Fast to react, ridiculous jaw force, and agile movement that didn't seem to match its size. It was difficult to react against this monster. I need to think. I'm only at the beginning of 2F. The equivalent of 1FS goblin fighter is now a werewolf. However, each one of these wolves can tear my shoulder to ribbons. It seemed impossible to conquer 2F. However, I have nothing to fear. When I started out as a goblin on 1F, I am in the same position as I was now. I can't evolve as quickly and as easily as I did before, but now I have to wait to become stronger than evolution. It's something I need to do right now. I took a deep breath and activated my detection, confirming that there is no other monster around. After slowly spreading his jaw and dropping him to the ground, I split his neck open and soaked the damaged armor to repair it. Then, I stared at the corpse of the huge wolf. I will enjoy this food. Thus, my struggle in 2F began. If the werewolf was a monster stalking the ground on 2F, the battle spider was a ceiling inhabitant. Because of their overlapping residences, they fought for their lives as soon as they found each other. The first battle spider I found was also in the middle of a fight against a werewolf. Ah, wow, wow! The werewolf barked ferociously and leaped towards the battle spider, but the battle spider shot a web at it. The werewolf couldn't figure out how to get out of the spider's trap and fell to the ground. The battle spider then crawled to him and began to wrap him with its sharp, slender web. Shoo! Kuo! The more the werewolf resisted, the more the spider's web tightened around him, until eventually, he could not move. The battle spider is tiny compared to the werewolf, but despite the small size, the spider won the battle. I used my surprise and fairy tale combination, assimilating with the darkness, and approached the spider. Once it was within range, I shot a bolt of powerful black lightning, and it fell upside down on the floor with its 8 legs trembling. Cautious of the spider web's power, I got closer using leap and slashed at it with a power attack. It separated the spider's web from its torso. You gained 3,500 experience. You obtained 2 silver, 10 bronze. Lower power attack has become LV8. I thought its body was durable. It was weaker than the werewolf. Its head flew off with 1 power attack. The spider's body was as brittle as paper, something that the werewolf could laugh at. However, its main weapon was its web. Once caught in its trap, it was not possible to escape. It was a great balance of power against the werewolf. As it always stays on the ceilings, the battle spider was also difficult to detect. If the werewolf was a melee warrior, the battle spider was like an assassin. If I lose my focus for even a little bit, I'm gonna look like the trapped werewolf lying there. In other words, there is no time to relax in this place. This is what I was expecting. It was something I was prepared for. I smiled bitterly and approached the werewolf, helplessly trapped in a bunch of spider webs. Only its neck was sticking out, and I struck it down with my sword. It didn't take long to get rid of a wolf that was stuck in a spider web. I gained 3,900 experience points. You obtained 2 silver, 40 bronze. After I dealt with the wolf, I had a thought. The spider web has totally contained a huge monster. How strong is this thing? In the future, I would face more battle spiders, so it was essential to know the strength of the spider web in advance. Hoo! I lifted the sword and slashed at the web. However, the web did not show any signs of breaking. I tried a power attack, but it also did not work. The web could not be cut by a sword. If so, this time I tried to use the beginner level 2 flame magic I obtained from the Goblin King. Even at this level, it seemed more effective than the sword, even if I only managed a small fireball. Still, it wasn't enough to burn out all the web completely. Next, I tried the black lightning. The entire spider web was destroyed. The problem is that black lightning consumes a lot of mana every time. If only the mana consumption was as good as it is with flame magic. In other words, while fighting spiders, it is possible that I'll use up my mana by shooting black lightning bolts. If there are corpses I could eat and restore mana with while in battle, it was a different story, but things do not go that well all the time. Then, the best answer for me is, I need to develop flame magic. The higher the level, the higher the power, and it consumed less mana. It does not do the job as well as black lightning, but to keep using a lower level spell that consumes a lot of mana just to destroy webs is impractical. Moreover, if the flame magic becomes affected by the ebon heart and changes into black flame, I would have more power than before. I burned all the cobwebs on the spot with flame magic. The skill level will increase by using the skill repeatedly. Of course, there would be no shortage of mana this time. The moment my mana was empty, I looked back. There were 2 corpses lying right there. I will enjoy this food. Chapter 30. 2F Entry 3. 2F Entry 3. If there's one thing better in 2F than in 1F, it's that the food is delicious. Wolf meat is very chewy and tastes like beef. I thought it would be better if I tried roasting it, but monsters were sensitive to odors and may flock to me once they smell it. The spiders tasted exactly like shrimp. I never thought I'd like eating spiders, but at this level I enjoyed eating them. Is the food getting tastier the higher the level goes? Perhaps it's only the werewolf and the battle spider that tasted special. But even with just these 2, I can't get enough of their taste. Presence. As I was eating up a battle spider, there was something that caught my senses. I stood up quietly. Left passage, 25 meters away. A monster was clinging to the ceiling. It's another battle spider. It's not a high-level species. I walked without making any noise, making my way to the passage, melting with the surroundings. With its 8 eyes shining, the battle spider was stalking the ceiling. He doesn't notice me. My intermediate surprise and my advanced skill fairy tale were active. For the battle spiders so far, the high ceiling of the cave gave them a perfect advantage over their natural enemies. But not over me. Now, I fired a black lightning bolt at the monster's torso. I could jump in and plug my sword instead, but that would be putting me at risk against the battle spider's trap. My first attack should be a long-range one. Kya! The spider had no chance to escape. The black lightning bolt hit it squarely, sending it crashing to the ground. However, it quickly turned around and shot a spider web at me. I quickly formed fireballs with my empty hands and threw it against the incoming spider web. One is not enough. Another one and another one. I threw fireballs in quick motions. The fourth fireball did the trick, burning the web in front of me. I succeeded in destroying it before it could pin me to the wall. Key! As soon as the web turned to ashes, I saw the spider was rushing at me, aiming to tear off my helmet and armor with its giant legs. My sword was faster. The blood colossal sword hopped off its head before his legs were able to touch my helmet or armor. You gained 3,400 experience. You obtained 2 silver, 10 bronze. I quickly bit off its head and laughed. The battle spider was easily taken care of. It was just like rock, paper, scissors. Now I can beat the battle spider with magic. Werewolves can be defeated with surprise attacks. But I shouldn't be satisfied. I continued eating thoughtfully. Time is passing by. The pocket watch Rain gave me was actually helpful. If you don't miss the ticking sound it makes when the hour hand turns, you can grasp the passage of time. Since I entered the 2F, the hour hand had turned 3 times, meaning 36 hours had passed. In those 36 hours, I had adapted to fighting werewolves and battle spiders. Adapting means I can settle on a place and eat in peace, knowing I could quickly destroy any monster that comes near. Predation of hunted battle spiders 138/2000. Strength has risen by 1. Predation of hunted werewolves 100/2000. You acquired the Beginner Beast Charge LV1. Beginner Beast Charge LV1. Rush at a speed exceeding your abilities. Effective for both attack and evasion, but consumes stamina. I paused as I reached for a second corpse. A beast charge gained after eating my 100th werewolf. I knew very well what this skill was. Werewolves always speed up the moment they are critically attacked, and the pace was incredible. Even the first werewolf I encountered had this and was able to seriously injure me with the beast charge. Of course, after that, I have prepared for it. I have faced 100 werewolves already. The moment I had an opening, I should kill them right away, or prepare a strong defense for the charge if they do not die at one blow. Nevertheless, the werewolf's charge was strong. It was one of the factors that always kept me on my toes in 2F. But now I have it. Took predating 100 of them to get it, but I have it now. Then maybe, I turned to look at a battle spider corpse on the floor. Maybe I could get their skills, too? The battle spider's skill of spitting out spider webs to trap and constrain enemies is very powerful. I would have had trouble with their spider webs due to their ridiculous strength and durability if I didn't finish the battle spiders by surprise. Of course, I had no problems in the 2F so far, but as in 1F, if there is going to be a mass appearance of spiders, it will be hell for me. A spider web. If I had this skill, I didn't know how I could spit it out, but I still wanted to get it if I could. The chances of surviving increase dramatically whenever I acquire a new skill. The pocket watch's hour hand had 6 more turns. At that moment, I was eating my 500th battle spider. Suddenly, you have acquired the skill of Beginner Spider Web LV1. Beginner Spider Web LV1. Nutrients from eating raw materials are converted to spider webs through a spinneret. The higher the skill level, the higher the strength and elasticity of the spider web. Yes.
I har endnu spinneret.
A goblin body does not have a silk-weaving organ. Therefore, it was impossible to make a spider web. Damn it. It doesn't seem to be a flexible skill. I thought that the Ebon Heart could change it to something that I could handle, like shooting spider webs off my sword. On the other hand, I had no problems using the beast charge. It was still at the beginner level, so the speed increase wasn't that overwhelming, but being able to speed up during a critical moment had a huge impact on the battle. The one drawback was that it consumed a large amount of stamina, but my predation made it seem like there was no drawback, and the consumption of stamina was gradually decreasing as the skill level increased. Therefore, the beast charge was becoming an essential skill for me in many ways, especially when used with leap. But this useless skill, as I stood there frustrated with the spider web skill, I suddenly felt a strange presence with my detection. My lower detection LV9 had a range of about 40 meters. The presence was not for a high-ranking species. I've never encountered one of them so far. In 1F, the higher species mingled with the lower ones, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. This presence, my detection allows me to sense as far as 2 passages away, allowing me to hide or leave before they got closer. I thought this would happen. I sensed 32 battle spiders and 25 werewolves. They were all coming in my direction at once. A mass appearance. I knew that this was possible, but I was hoping it would not happen. I checked my condition urgently. Kong Siha, Fate. Hobgoblin Assault LV45. Strength, 239 Stamina, 212 Magic, 115 Luck. Skill Ebonheart, Predation LV3, Lower Martial Arts LV4, Lower Armor Defense LV8, Lower Regeneration LV7, Lower Flame Magic LV6, Lower Black Lightning LV2, Lower Power Attack LV7, Lower Leap LV9, Intermediate Surprise LV2, Lower Leadership LV3, Beginner Fairy Tale LV6, Beginner Beast Charge LV4. Due to the increase in stats and my predation, I have grown stronger than a werewolf or a battle spider. In particular, the growth of flame magic was great. I can now burn spider webs without difficulty. But it was a different story if I will fight against dozens of them at the same time. My sword took a while to cut them dead. They have strong defenses, and my attack was also a problem as it is not that strong. What's more, my strongest skill is intermediate surprise. In a situation where I am surrounded by monsters, it would be impossible to hide again after completing an attack. Maybe if I could increase the level of both surprise and fairy tale, disappearing after an attack right before multiple enemies' eyes would be doable, but right now it is simply impossible. I need a stronger weapon to survive. Something sharper and easier to wield than the Blood Colossal Sword. A weapon that could kill in one blow and end the battle faster. There is no time. I need it now. I have been in 2F for several days and earned a total of 36 gold, 70 silver. 26 gold and 70 silver were from hunting 450 werewolves and battle spiders, while completing the last quest gave me 10 gold. It was a big sum for me, but I actually wanted to collect more. I wanted to be equipped with something that's worth 50 gold before the mass appearance. However, it was out of my control. I need to do it now, before they get any closer and the combat begins. I opened the door of the dedicated store. We've reached the end of today's episode. Thank you for traversing the boundless landscapes of fantasy with us. If today's story has sparked joy within you, please remember to hit the like button, share our journey with others, and subscribe to Lord of the Stories for an ever-expanding collection of mystical escapades. Until we meet again to turn the page to a new adventure, hold the tales dear in your heart, and let the embers of magic warmly glow in your spirit. Farewell, intrepid explorers of the narrative unknown.